how's it going? So in this week's little technique video, we're going to be talking about rotating darts. I actually get a lot of questions about this, which I know is kind of an intimidating technique to think about if you're a beginner sewer or somebody who just uses the standard darts, but it's really not difficult. It's actually pretty easy to do, and then once you kind of visualize it and maybe even practice some of the techniques yourself, it'll be easy to conceptualize and to actually do this on your real patterns. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and created like a little mock-up, like a little mini bodice, but what I did was I marked it up like crazy so you guys can kind of get more of an idea of possible dart rotations, right? So if we look at the red lines here, these two here, I probably should have done them in black, but hopefully you guys can see them okay. These are probably like the standard darts that you're gonna see in a normal bodice, right? So you're gonna see like a side dart coming in from the side towards the bust, and you're gonna see one coming up towards the bottom. Now you have your apex, and I drew a big giant red circle around where the dart endpoint might be on a normal bodice. It's usually about an inch or so away for most bodices. If you are rocking a D cup and above, this circle might be larger for your specific pattern. Might be about like this one's an inch out, but if you're one of the larger busted ladies, it might be an inch and a half to 2 inches depending on the specific design. So what we're gonna talk about specifically and what I'm gonna show you guys is if you have to do like a full bust adjustment, or if you, especially if you're doing a full bust adjustment on designs that may not have like a side dart, but they might have a bottom dart. Like for example, on my Vogue 8789, there was only a bottom dart, but I had to create a side dart in order to do my full bust adjustment and then close that up and then rotate that dart. Or for example, on my recent Butterick design that I did, which was like the navy one for my Flags of the World Challenge dress, I had to do a full bust adjustment on that, but there were no darts on that, there were gathers, and so I had to change my darts that I created when I did my full bust adjustment to gathers. So that's all gonna be covered kind of in this little video, just so you guys can get an idea of what that looks like from design to design. So if I have my little sheet of paper here with my little fake, my fake bodice, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut into a dart here, right? So let's say for whatever reason, I wanna be able to rotate the fullness of one dart out to one of the other pieces, right? So let's say I want to change my bottom dart and I want to put that change over onto my shoulder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut from where I want that dart to be to the apex, because the apex is going to be the rotation point. All right, so if I have here, and I put it over the red paper so you guys can kind of see the spreading of part of the pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm essentially closing up the bottom dart. I'm going to overlap so you guys can kind of see. There's a closing up of the dart there, and I'm only doing it up to where the dart end point might be. So we got that, and then we can see that this has opened up in the top for where the shoulder dart would be. So you can either leave that create that as a shoulder dart that would end at the apex point, or depending on the design, you could have it end sooner. But this could also be turned into a gather. So essentially in this little red section here, you would fill in more paper and then gather that in the top. So that essentially that would close up and create essentially a faux dart. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this back to normal. Now let's say I didn't want it at the shoulder. I want to be able to rotate this bottom dart out to the side, this seam, or I'm sorry, this dart on the side here. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut that so you guys can see all the way up to the apex point. All right. So again, I'm rotating the dart fullness from the bottom dart to the side. So essentially I close this guy up, and you can see that this is opened up on the side here. So essentially, you're removing one dart from one location and pushing that fullness to the next. And then same thing again here. If I wanted to remove all the fullness from this dart, I could do that and push it up to the top. And at this point, all the fullness that I would need for that full bust adjustment or whatever adjustment that I did would be rotated here, and the gathers here would encompass the fullness that would fit on the breast, right? So let's say you wanted to close up this bottom dart, but you wanted to evenly spread out the fullness of that dart to the shoulder and to the neck, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and do another cut. And at this point, my pattern piece is getting all cut up. But all the hinges help for things to move around. So let's say, so I said, close up the bottom, and I wanna have it on the shoulder and on the neck. So I'm gonna close it up here at the bottom, here. Now at this point, you can kind of see my bottom and my side are closed up. I'm just gonna put a piece of tape on there so you guys can see that this stuff is closed up. I've closed up the bottom, the side is closed up. Now this hinge here can go either way, right? And this is a design element that you can decide how you wanna roll with, right? So you can move this right in the middle and have that evenly across both the neck and the shoulder, or you can have it a little bit more one way or a little bit more the other way. Whichever one makes more sense for you and your design, it's really up to you. Personally for me, just on a design element, I don't like darts in the neck, so I would probably close this up here, or if you're doing something like a gathered at the neck, you could probably go the other way and just push all the gathers up to the neck, and so the fullness for your breasts would come from that section. So anyway, hope this kind of gives you guys more of an idea of how it works in concept. If you're going to be rotating darts out, definitely don't be afraid to just cut into your patterns and really, I mean, essentially you're gonna be cutting into them and moving everything around, and that's okay. You just have to remember that if you close a dart in one area, you need to be able to open up that fullness somewhere else. So if you're closing up that side dart, you need to rotate that fullness to another part of the pattern in order for it to compensate and for there to be enough fabric to go around that section. It's going to be really important to stick around where the dart end point is and to just be conscious of where that dart needs to end in order to be able to give yourself enough fullness right at the apex. But besides that, play around with it. Closed darts, open darts. If you're doing a kind of a gather design, that's okay. You know, you can switch your darts to gathers. I do that all the time just because at some points, some full bust adjustments will cause my dart to be straight, like a pointy, you know, bullet bra style dart, and that is not gonna look flattering on me. So for example, if that were to happen, I would maybe change that dart to a full gather, or I can, just like I did here on the neck, kind of split the dart up between two darts. And so I'd have smaller darts that still have that same amount of fullness, if that makes sense. But anyway, definitely leave your comments down below and your questions if you still have them. Each pattern is going to be very different in how it approaches a specific step, but the concept in general is very simple. So definitely leave your comments down below. Yeah, and I hope this helps. If you liked the video, thumbs up, subscribe, all the places, all the stuff. Definitely check out the Patreon, and I'll go ahead and see you guys in the next one. Bye.